You may look at the website and be like, oh, that's a really nicely designed website. But then when you look on the back end and what Google is seeing,
it's a disaster.
They have absolutely no idea what it is that you do.
How do we strategize and set the business up for success? SEO tends to be one of the least talked about.
On average, we see an increase in phone calls and website visits within 60 to 90 days.
In a nutshell, what is the difference between, the local business SEO and an online business SEO?
Because people think they have to put out so much content, the content becomes useless.
Super random question. Do you like Lord of the Rings?
No.
No.
Okay. And why should I pay attention to SEO rather than the other ones?
For any business, the foundation for the SEO needs to be there. And that is...
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Content is Profit. I'm here with Fonzie, and a special day today. I'll tell you all about it in just a little bit. Fonzie, day 5 of being married. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Actually, it's more than day 5. I got married on September 4th. I'm reinforcing it so next I don't forget my anniversary. That's one of the tips I got. Do not forget your anniversary. But yeah, feels amazing.
Feels good. Yeah. All right, soccer games this weekend.
I have a new fidgeting thing now. I know. Oh, it's the ring. I'm getting used to it. But
yeah, you should. I keep forgetting mine. It's in my gym bag. So anyways, guys, I'm stoked. We have a local guest here in studio with us today. We met, fun fact, because of our producer, Mava. She ended up working with her, and she's like, you guys need to bring this person to your show. She knows a ton. She's going to help your audience. And I'm super excited because that's how we met. We jumped on a little call, and we're like, you are the perfect fit for this show. So her superpower is helping a local business to drive more appointments and calls. Let's go. She also helps agencies leverage the power of local SEO. I'm super interested because recently we transitioned into a local business.
That is true.
Pim, pim, pim.
Was this invite here a whole secret plan to just get her to share her secrets?
All the secrets. She also has over 10 years of experience of online marketing, achieving 400% ROI. Wow.
That's pretty impressive.
Per client, by the way. Almost like Frank Kern, that you can tattoo ROAS on your hand. And then she also founded Maps Madness as a way to teach agency owners the power of local SEO for small businesses. And I'm so stoked because, my past is local businesses. We could never figure that one out in the gym industry where we were. It was like corporate owns all the agency accounts and all this stuff. And we couldn't really play with it. And now I'm super stoked because we have you here. So please welcome our new local MVP and Content is Profit friend, Corinne Fisher.
Let's go. Welcome, Corinne.
Thank you, guys. So excited to be on. I didn't know you just got married. Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I usually don't go around announcing it. I leave it to this guy. We come in somewhere, it's like, he just got married. Appreciate it.
Official hype man of the show.
I happen to love marriage. It's awesome. So
I'll definitely get some tips. I know you have 3 kids,
yes.
You've been married for a while. So after this, you can share with me some of the tips. I hope the anniversary one is a good one.
So Corinne, I'm very excited because I don't think, we were born in online, we were, ClickFunnels graduates, I guess, like online marketing. We're also victims of bro marketing for a long time. We started with the social media. Biz Bros. Hold on, I gotta clarify. We're not bro marketers. This name came up as we sold something, and then after we sold the package, we're like, we need an official company. So we ran and registered, and it's like, what's the name of the company? Well, we're brothers and we do business. So Biz Bros. That's
there you go.
Clarifying for people. That story I think is in episode 100 or 500 something. So just a reminder.
We've been debating to do a DBA called Two Brothers Media.
Yes,
I think I
think that's a little bit more official.
Yeah, but
what do you think, Corinne?
I like that one, but Biz Bros is catchy too.
Biz Bros is like the personality of the show, I guess. When we're together, the power of the Biz Bros.
All right, let's bring it back. Let's bring it back to Korean.
Yeah. So obviously, I'm excited because about a year ago we ended up purchasing this local business, right? Mm-hmm. And it has been an interesting transition between servicing people online, right? Whether it's consulting, coaching, or even the service that we offer, to now having to manage a brick and mortar. right? And dealing with all of that, right? And Google has been great for us, but it was because of the setup that the other person had before us. And we're total newbies
and
on
honestly,
this.
lack of local competition in a way, I feel like.
Yeah,
right.
That too. So a lot of people that listen to the show, they might be, small business owners as well. They might have a brick and mortar. We know of many listeners that have brick and mortars, and they're trying to figure out the content game for them and how to leverage Google. And somehow it seems like it's like this fog right in front of, the business owner and Google. And it's like this fight that I need to figure out the algorithm. I need to fight the algorithm and raise. And I have a feeling that it's like, we just need to collaborate with these platforms, right? So with your experience, right, I would love to dive deep into that and, into what you do to achieve that 400% ROI with the people that you help and, small businesses, and what can they do to do that? So how did everything start for you?
Sure. Well, everything started about 7 years ago. Almost 7 years ago, when I'd been building websites since I was like 16, kind of dabbling.
You also looked like 19, so it's like that 3 years ago.
Yeah, it was only been 3 years ago. But just dabbling. And this was before you had drag and drop builders. So I was HTMLing it and it looked awful, but I was trying. So anyways, fast forward, went to college for marketing, all of that. Yeah. Had a corporate job for 3 years. I said, I never want to do this again. It was literally soul sucking. I was sitting in a cubicle and we had our first child at that time. And I had to leave her after 8 weeks and go back to work. And I hated every minute of it. Then I got hired at a startup company where I was the only employee. Yeah. To grow their software that they had. It was for a very, very niche audience. And I worked there for a year and I had literally sold to the entire available audience. So I was kind of sitting there twiddling my thumbs, but I wasn't going to tell them, I have no one left to sell this to. They knew it. I knew it. So I knew it was coming. It was inevitable. And I was pregnant with our second daughter at the time, about 7 months pregnant, and I got laid off. And, I felt a peace about it there. I wasn't scared. I took that as my opportunity to really go full force with my agency and go full time. And when God closes one door, he opens another. Yeah. So, and that's, like I said, that's been 7 years now, and we've taken off since then. I have about 10 employees. We have serviced over 200 clients now. So cool. We have a ton of agency white label partners. So yeah.
That's amazing. I'm pretty curious on that decision-making process, right? When you got laid off, clearly you had the skill of building websites. I feel like SEO is a sub-skill that comes with it, right? Like you start learning as you go. Was there anything else that you had in mind that you're like, oh, maybe I can go here, start this other thing, right? I mean, shiny object syndrome is pretty natural, I feel like, for entrepreneurs.
Yes.
Or you are like, I know this is my expertise. I know this is where I can bring value. I'm just going to lean into this one.
Yeah. So we do more than just website design and development and SEO. So we do PPC work, and we also do meta advertising. I actually got started with websites and Facebook advertising. And then I saw the need and I saw the lack of knowledge within the agency community with SEO in particular. And because I was working with local businesses, they need that. And there honestly, a lot of them were being ripped off by people that said they knew what they were doing and didn't. And I saw that. And so I went full force at really learning it, implementing it, and building our processes. And I'll tell you that our SEO processes are the most robust, like it's our most robust SOP out of any service that we offer, because it is a lot. So a lot of agencies don't want to learn it and fulfill it because it is there is quite a bit involved with it, and hence our white labeling services. But for a local business, the return on investment for them is insane, especially long term. Even if they do, correct SEO with us, for example, for 6 months, and then they don't do it again, the ROAS continues.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it's not considered ROAS because that's return on ad spend.
Yeah. Yeah, but the return on investment.
The return on investment, ROI.
It would be the ROS, the return on SEO.
Yeah.
I don't know. So we'll figure one out. We'll get an acronym.
Return on investment.
You're not a dat yet. You're not allowed to do that jokes, dude. Stop.
But yeah, I mean, the return on investment for them is insane. And I always encourage them to do local SEO or to implement SEO because you don't want to have to pay Google forever. You don't, unless you are seeing a significant return. But for a lot of these local businesses, the cost is becoming unattainable. Yeah. Google just continues to increase their ad spend.
So I want to paint a little picture here, maybe for people listening, of like maybe a full ecosystem, right? Like that, we might be in the industry and that might be clear, but I remember our first product was going to local businesses and shoot a lot of content in one day, different formats, different things. And then we will like edit that out and then they'll have content for the full week, right? And what we encounter having conversations with owners is that content was like the last of their priorities, right? Like they had, payroll issues, like staff things, and we had to like train these, our staff, and we have to operations. And if it's a franchise, they have to deal with corporate, and there's like a lot of like, red tape that I have to go through to actually go into a local ad agency and work with a local vendor, for example, or returns and declines and all this stuff. And then at the end of the day, they're like, oh, we still have to do content. And then content on its own is massive, right? You have your social content, you have your paid ads, you have your SEO, you have whatever, like the PR, like there's many, many things that a local business owner can do, and it can be very overwhelming, right? Yes. So I think barrier of entry, social content can be a very low barrier of entry because now most people know how to use social media, right? Very superficial, like people know how to take a picture, they know how to post that, they know how to write something, right? But then when it comes to, okay, how do we strategize and set the business up for success, for long-term success too? SEO tends to be one of the least talked about or like least attractive, I think, because, you have the TikToks of the world, you have, your Facebook ads, maybe you don't have an educational aspect to it. Maybe you cannot do it like a lead magnet, for example, or you don't even know what a lead magnet is, right? Mm-hmm. Some of the things. So how do you normally encourage, like, do people come to you already knowing, hey, I need SEO? Or how do you have that conversation and help them understand like, hey, this is something that we need to start working on long term, and have that conversation and then remove the friction? For us, like starting the podcast was all about removing the friction from creating content consistently, right? Like, what can we do on a weekly basis that can put our message out there, for example, right? Yeah. How do you have that conversation with like a local business owner that might be overwhelmed, that might have a lot of things in their plate, but this is super important for that long term? It compounds, right? It's still there. It works. We see it. Like on our side, we get 2 to 3 phone calls every single week of new people finding out about the studio and wanting to learn more, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great question. We get people coming to us thinking they know what they want, and they have no idea what it is that they actually need. So what I do first, we kind of complete an audit to see where they're at now, how are they ranking? What does their website look like? All that good stuff. But in order to demonstrate the need for search engine optimization, first of all, I never call it SEO to my potential clients because most of them have no idea what that means. Yeah. Or they've been, like I said before, taken advantage of by a previous company. Yeah. So what we do is we look at the missed opportunities. So we're gonna see how many people are actually searching for your services in your area right now. So we'll look at those different keywords, see how they're searching, see how many searches are happening in those surrounding cities. From there, we're going to take a look at where are you actually ranking then for those terms. So you have people searching for X term. Where are you showing up right now? And most of the time, they're not showing up, or they're showing up occasionally and not very often. And their competition is way ahead of them. And when they visually see that, they're like, okay, this is important. This is why I'm not getting calls from Google.
This is like the traffic that we're losing, Right. So interesting. maybe a little bit more technical, and we can, zoom out or zoom in as necessary. What's the first step apart from like calling you, right? And we're going to leave all the links right below. If you're interested, please go ahead and click and get that consult going. Cause like, I think education is number one. It's like, where do we sit? Like we're on point A, we want to go to point B. But after that, what are some like maybe couple of steps that people can do to, maintain or to be like, hey, we're doing the right thing. Is it that we need to push, content every single week, right? Is it a one-time almost like set up on the website with like these different keywords and then we optimize over time? Is it going to take a ton of time? Like what are some things, if we can paint the picture of like, okay, this is actually going to be like a lot of work, or it could be something that we can do locally and then get ready to, get some resources and go and invest with a company that can do this for us?
Yeah, I would say just something that you can do on your own is making sure that your Google business listing is built out and established and optimized. And so what that means is when you are looking at your business on Google, you should see a little listing of, if you're looking up your address in the reviews, that's your Google business listing. You want to make sure that, number one, you have the correct main category selected. Depending on what it is that you do, there may only be one available main category, or there may be multiple available main categories.
Yeah.
And that's going to be one of the most important ranking factors in the beginning, is selecting the correct main category for your Google business listing. From there, Google offers the ability to build out services. So building out those services, working in the keywords that people are actually searching for into those services. Conducting keyword research. There are several different tools that you can do or use to conduct keyword research. One of them is called Keywords Everywhere. It's an extension with Google Chrome Google Chrome.
Google Chrome, yeah.
So you can download Keywords Everywhere and start searching terms that you think people are using to look for your business, and it will populate other suggested recommended terms. So you want to compile a list of those keywords that people are actually using to search for your service. Don't just assume that you know. And then work that into the content on your website. Work that into the content on Google Posts. Be consistent with Google posting and working.
What is a Google Post? This is all new, by the way. We do social content.
I don't think I've heard about Google Posts before. Yeah.
So Google, think of it kind of like a social media post almost like a Facebook post. If you go to your Google business profile, you can create an update, it's called, and you can attach an image and content there. Within the content, you want to work in those keywords that you've researched. You want to include a link to maybe your website, your homepage, or one of the service pages.
Okay.
You can even use hashtags in the post as well.
Yeah.
Wow, so cool. Why is this not talked more in our world?
I'm very curious. Earlier you mentioned that the ROI is long term, right?
Yes.
And I feel like nowadays everything is fairly quick. People want things quick, right? I think that's why, advertising, Facebook advertising, all that stuff, social media advertising is so appealing for people, because they're like, well, this is a random example, obviously, but I invest $20 and I can see if I can make 21, and I'm like, I start putting money into it. Of course, that takes time to develop a system that works and a lot of resources. So I'm curious on how to get people invested into that long-term ROI, because they might be in a situation where they're like, well, we need something now, we need something quicker. So I'm curious on how that part of the conversation goes, right? Somebody that is listening right now, they might be thinking, okay, but why not go with, PPC, social media ads? And why should I pay attention to SEO rather than the other ones?
Right. Well, time goes by very quickly.
Yeah.
Maybe you do need overnight calls coming in, and that's fine. So yes, put some money towards ads, but 3-6 months down the line, you could have started that process 3-6 months ago and been in a much, much better position.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's really just showing them the missed opportunities and the missed potential. And I tell our clients that on average, we see an increase in phone calls and website visits within 60 to 90 days.
Nice.
Some of our clients a lot quicker. It just depends. There's a lot of different factors involved.
Yeah.
But across the board, like I said, the return on investment for showing up in Google, as long as the search volume is there, I mean, it's unmatched.
Yeah.
And especially, like I said before, because Google continues to raise the cost of their ads. If you want to show up on Google, period, I recommend SEO as a way to go. And it's not just Google too, it's Bing. So our efforts work on Bing, on Yahoo, and I see it in our reports, in our analytics reports, when we start putting work into showing up. People are on Bing. They are on DuckDuckGo.
Yeah.
And our clients get traffic from these other search engines.
Yeah, absolutely. I need to go search some stuff on Bing. I don't think I've ever used it once, but I know some people do.
Yeah.
I'm actually fairly curious on, actually I just blanked on the questions I had. It was a pretty good question.
We have a saying in Venezuela, if you forget what you're about to say is a lie. No, I'm kidding.
So it was a good question. I'll remember it and then I'll get back to this.
So here's a question that we've had from a few people, and then I'm also not 100% on this, right? So you mentioned obviously WordPress as going into like, where do we build these sites, right? And a lot of people, a business owner might hire an agency and they might use WordPress, they might use Wix, they might use, Go High Level, they might use like these different builders, right? Mm-hmm. I had a call with Go High Level and I asked this question. I was like, hey, we have this site for a local business that it's already been built. Mm-hmm. My fear is like, if I move platforms, for example, right, I'm going to lose the ranking of that business. Right. And sometimes when a business owner have to do a pivot like that, or they want to update their site, maybe they want to take a stab at it. Mm-hmm. Is that something that they lose? Like the SEO from like old site to new site? Mm-hmm. And then does these like drag and drop platforms that make it really easy and pretty to create a site that, looks decent, mm-hmm. do they have the full SEO, capabilities than maybe a WordPress site that it might be a little bit more intimidating to create or like more robust? Right. Like what's because I've been on the other side of the pitch where, I feel like we are so technically, advanced in a way that we could create like a good looking site that, provides all the information. It works with the CRM that we have on the back end. Mm-hmm. But then they're like, you should not build there. You should build on WordPress because of XYZ, right? Mm-hmm. What's your point of view there? Like if we transfer, do we lose that information? It's almost like SEO is like a layer behind the site, right? Mm-hmm. That it like people collect from there. Like how does that work?
Yeah, that's a very loaded question.
Sorry, we can break it down. Yeah.
So a lot of these answers are be like, it depends, right?
Yes.
So I'll use, for an example, most of our local business clients, when they come to us, their website just does not have good rankings or it's not built properly.
Can we use our example, for example? Like, sure. Can we go specific on that? Because I feel like that has been similar things. So there's two scenarios. One scenario, local business. Mm-hmm. So we have, let's say, studiopodcastsuites.com, right?
What was that?
Studiopodcastsuites.com.
Studio Podcast Suites, okay.
Yeah. So there's some like testimonial services that we offer, but there's no content. There's like no blog, no nothing, right? Mm-hmm. And then there's also doesn't connect with like a CRM. We don't collect leads from there, right? A lot of the leads that come to the studio are through Google, for example, right? That people search and it's there. But we want to be able to connect that to maybe give a lead magnet of like, how can people start a podcast, right? How to start a production and learn how to do this, right? And then they can come to us. We have our agency site on Go High Level, for example. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but it's like...
We use Go High Level every day.
Oh, perfect. So the transition that we have in mind is like unifying these 7 tools that we have for booking appointments and all this stuff into Go High Level because it syncs with our agency work that we do at the same time. Mm-hmm. And then, but we're ranking. We're like number 1 podcast studio when you search that in Jacksonville. At least that's what people tell me, right? Mm-hmm. I'm very scared that we're going to lose that ranking, for example.
And the main site is hosted
on WordPress.
On WordPress.
Yes.
Okay. So I don't recommend moving it to Go a High Level.
Okay.
a lot of those drag and drop builders are still just not there in terms of SEO capabilities.
Okay.
Even Wix. I mean, Wix has been around forever. They've gotten better. And if you need to throw something together, use it. But for long-term capabilities and looking at your long-term return on investment, WordPress is still the way to go.
Okay.
And I know that's not what everyone wants to hear, especially if you know how to use a drag and drop builder in that platform. Obviously, it's a lot easier. But it doesn't mean that you can't connect those lead magnets to your WordPress site, which is what we do all the time.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you can't use a Zap to, connect Go High Level to your WP form or whatever.
Yeah.
You can absolutely do all of that. But your main SEO efforts happen on the WordPress side.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because I also see, like, for example, for website for podcasts, for example, right? Like, you have these incredible sites that import all your RSS feed into the website, for example. It imports your YouTube videos, right? And it looks all pretty and stuff. So I'm just questioning, like, they give you a SEO ranking, like 98%, like, for example, right? We've seen it with the shows in the studio, but then when you go look at the analytics, and it's like, there's barely any traffic here, maybe maybe the content is not optimized. But again, we don't know how the back end works, right? So I'm very concerned, I guess, for also like the people that ask questions around this. We've been in that position too, where it's like, am I actually investing my time and my resources into building this stuff and these platforms when in fact it's just like a bunch of smoke, right? And it's like not really gonna give me a lot of results, right?
Right.
So I really want to be optimizing for long term, because at the end of the day, content is long term.
Right. I'll say for local businesses specifically, and even looking at the studio, the main pages that we look at on a local business's website are the homepage and the main service pages. You may have a lot of other additional pages, whether it be blog posts or even just random pages on this About Me page or whatever on the website. But the main pages that we're focused on optimizing are the homepage and the main service pages. So all things aside, that's really all you have to, in the beginning at least, that's going to be our main focus. And that's going to produce the quickest results if you get those pages taken care of and optimized.
Awesome. That's a really good tip. That's cool.
Yeah. I'm curious, talking about like the smoke and some of these pages for a podcast, for example. And I don't know, this might be a little bit out of the realm. It might be a tangent right now, but there's pages like these aggregators, right? Like podcastpages.com or podpage.com that you pretty much like submit your podcast and they grab all the information and they kind of like put it all in there. Do those work for SEO purposes as well, right? Like, are they good, or would you just still stick to put it in WordPress, put a tab that says, podcast, and then kind of like add it there as their own individual blogs?
That would be considered like a backlink.
A backlink.
And in the world of local businesses, business citations, backlinks, in the podcast world, that would be considered a backlink.
Interesting.
And yes, it does affect your SEO.
It does. So you want to get as many of those. So having one of those pages would be beneficial for like podcasters and whatnot.
Yes. You don't just want to go out and purchase 2,000 backlinks though.
Yeah.
Not knowing what you're doing, because you could actually hurt your site rather than help it. So, what we do whenever we take on a new client, we do create a lot of those citations, business citations and backlinks, but we are focused on getting higher quality ones that make sense for that business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I know that was a little bit of a tangent, a little bit of a selfish question, if I may say. I remember the question that I had, but I improved it a little bit. So I'm curious, you talked about kind of like the initial setup, right? And people that might have, limited resources and bandwidth inside of their business because they're doing a lot of things. Right. Obviously, the right solution is to call Corinne and work with her. But, if they want to get started, right? Once they do the keywords research, they have to, this is out of my knowledge, right? I'm assuming here, you have to have some sort of consistency creating some sort of content, right? Maybe blogs, right? Or content somewhere else so they can backlink you. Again, this is all based on my very limited knowledge. What would be a good content plan for people, right? Like I said, like try to create one piece a week, right? Like something bi-weekly, or like make just one very long piece a month, right?
I would say for a majority of local businesses, you actually do not need to create blogs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You don't have to. And like you said, I think that's one thing that scares a lot of people, so they don't even get started. Because they think, oh my gosh, now I've got to, create.
Feels like a big commitment.
Yes, a huge commitment. Like I've got to write 2 blogs a week now. I can't do that. It's too much work. You don't have to.
That's cool.
Now, obviously, if we take you on as a client, we do work consistently every month. But one of those things for most of our businesses is not blogs. It's not blog writing. We have not seen that move the needle enough for local businesses to make it worth the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's myth buster.
I feel really
myth busted.
I know.
That's really good. I think, I remember having a conversation with somebody that we met at an event, Michelle, and she has a local business. It was like a cannabis business, right? And that's one of our concerns. Everybody kept telling her, hey, you need a podcast. Hey, you need to blog every single week. Hey, you do. And I remember the call.
It's like the Gary V approach, Oh, you've got to be everywhere all the time.
And it's a play of like capacity and resources at the end of the day, right? And I remember the first time that we talked to her, we ended up jumping on a call together 2 years just to catch up to see how we were doing. And I was like, how is it going? Like, do you guys ended up lunching? And she's like, no, we're still like thinking about the idea. 2 years, right? And I can't just imagine the pressure and like the way, like that's probably a daily thought, right? Maybe for a lot of local businesses too, where it's like, man, like we need to do like this stuff, but we can't just get to it, right? It's just like really frustrating. And I remember, again, without any background on any of this, what we did is, we just worked behind, to figure out like a content system that worked for her. Right. And she's like, well, it turns out that she had no equipment to do the podcast. It turned out that she didn't know how to structure the podcast. It turned out that she didn't enjoy the process of creating a podcast. I'm like, well, why are we doing a podcast? Like at the end of the day, it's like,
you have a cannabis business. Why are we thinking about podcasts?
Exactly. She liked to write. She liked to review products. So for her, what she ended up doing was she ended up reviewing the content that was already there, like the products that she already had in front of a cell phone. And she hired somebody that was working part-time for her. And that person was very passionate about social media, and that's how they started, and they started getting some traffic. And then she focused on a weekly newsletter for the people that wanted more information on education. So I think that just brings perspective on this, where it's like you don't need to do all the things that we see online, and I think that's a misconception, right? So thank you for debunking this myth.
Yes. Now that doesn't negate the value of high quality content.
Absolutely.
But exactly to what we were just speaking about, because people think they have to put out so much content, the content becomes useless. And especially with AI, people are just, write me a blog about blah, blah, blah. And it's just spitting out the same useless content.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to read it. I would call it, it's kind of like building a house. Your foundation has to be strong. And so for any business, the foundation for the SEO needs to be there. And that is, in a nutshell, telling Google that you are who you say you are, that you do what you say you do, and that you're located where you say you're located. And one of those foundational aspects is the website and making sure that it's structured properly, not making sure that you have 200 pages on your website, but making sure that it's structured properly. And that's probably one of the biggest mistakes that we see when we take on new clients, is that the content is not structured properly for Google. Google can't even understand what it is that you do, because either you're using fluff language, or you have 500 H1s on the homepage, or you have no H1s. And I know I'm speaking a little technical.
It's like a header one. It's like a title, right?
A header one tag.
Okay.
And so Google reads in order of your H tags, and your H1 is header 1. should encompass what it is that you do, that specific keyword at least.
Yeah.
So what that would be like when you open a page in the top fold, that would be kind of like that big headline that is your H1.
Right.
I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you say, okay, the right structure, right? Like, how do we translate that into, is this a structure of like homepage services?
Can I try to guess? Is it like like an outline, you know, because when you're writing like an essay, is it like an outline that you have like your title, you know, subtitle, then like maybe subheadings, kind of like stuff like that?
Yeah, very similar. Right, okay. Exactly. So I don't know how technical the audience is, but you know, if we're looking at our title tag and our meta description, we need to have the keywords in there that people are actually searching for.
Yeah.
Same thing with the header tags and working in those location phrases into your content, meaning, you know, you guys are a podcast studio in Jacksonville, so that needs to be in the headers. So
it's like the original podcast studio in Jacksonville, because we truly are the original podcast studio in Jacksonville.
Right. So, you know, at a basic level, the structure needs to be there. And it's funny because, like I said, we'll take on new clients and the website will just be structured completely wrong. It may look visually appealing and you may look at the website and be like, oh, that's a really nicely designed website. But then when you look on the back end and what Google is seeing,
it's a disaster.
They have absolutely no idea what it is that you do because, you know, maybe you are, I have some examples written down here.
Yeah.
So one thing that we run into a lot is with med spas and aesthetic clinics.
Okay.
And they want to get across that, you know, they're helping you to look beautiful and young. And so one recent example that I saw with an H1 is the H1 said literally your natural beauty. So if Google is scanning your site and they see your natural beauty, that doesn't mean anything. And it also doesn't mean anything to your audience either, because your audience also, probably...
Most people are not looking for like, how do I get my natural beauty back, right?
Right.
No? Is that correct?
Yeah, sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if they're trying to go to a med spa.
Yeah.
But they were searching Botox or they were searching micro needling, and they landed on your website that says your natural beauty. It doesn't mean anything to them. That's not what they were looking for. And it also doesn't mean anything to Google.
They're going to bounce right back because they're like, oh, I don't see Botox here. Like, they're not.
Exactly.
I have a live exercise I would love to do if you're open to it.
Sure.
I just opened the Studio Podcast Studio's website.
Okay.
I'm just going to turn the computer. You can for whatever time you want. Okay. And then tell us this is good or this is not good. We haven't touched it.
We haven't touched it since we bought the business.
We haven't changed anything. We haven't done anything. This is as it came. So I'm extremely curious on like, what will be your first... take on it.
Do you got the sweaty pigs, Fonzie?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Here you go.
I just wish I had my laptop. I didn't bring my laptop.
Sorry about
you don't have all of my
the tools. Yeah. At a first glance, just based on experience.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be super deep.
Yeah. I apologize for all the tabs.
Where are the ones I might need to just like click your links and be like...
I have like 1,000 tabs open in there. I apologize.
Oh, man, I should have brought my laptop. Okay. Well, because I don't have like all my keyword research tools and everything, from your knowledge, if you were to say, our ideal client, what do you have any idea in terms of what they may be searching for?
It has been shifting, but this is the model that's there is like studio for rent per hour, basically.
Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm searching that exactly in Google. Studio for rent per hour in Jacksonville. And what's interesting is I'm not seeing the Google Map Pack come up. And what I mean by that is the 3 listings, with the reviews. It's not coming up. It's ads, and then you have your website rankings there. I don't.
Is that like an opportunity if you don't see the map in there? Is that an opportunity for businesses to kind of like get in there? Like what makes Google put that map in there when you search it. Because I've noticed when I search for a certain business, it doesn't pop up.
Right.
But when I search for certain other things, it does pop up.
Yeah. So when we're doing our keyword research, we try to focus on terms that are only going to populate the map pack.
Yeah.
And the reason is because it's easier, an easier win to populate in the map pack first than to populate when there's no map pack listed. And there's so many different variations based on industry. But you have a ton of ads at the top if there's no map pack. I mean, there's always ads at the top, but if there's no map pack, there's a bunch of ads at the top. And then there's also, like, for example, you have Zillow is one of the top listings here, and Reddit and apartments.com.
Yeah, I'm guessing the word studio is especially studio for rent.
Yeah, it could be like Podcast Studio Jacksonville, I think, is like number one, like how people. And it's funny because like as we search that, we've also received a ton of calls from people that think that we're a music studio. Hey, we want to record like whatever. I want to record like a session.
Right.
Fonzie has a theory of like those are fake calls, but
I think they're just coming to investigate the studio, which is fine.
Okay, so I searched podcast studio near me, and you guys were number one. But here's something. We are also sitting in the podcast studio.
That is true. And I have the location like enabled and stuff like that.
Yes. Searching for a podcast studio near me. So if you guys
disclaimer. If you are at home and you're watching this or listening, go to your phone right now and be like podcast studio in Jacksonville.
There you go.
And see what happens and let us know. That would be great.
Right. So Google classifies the main category is recording studio here.
Cool.
And I noticed that on your website, I don't have my tools to pull up the H tags.
Okay. Yeah.
But I'm guessing podcasting for everyone is most likely the H1 tag here.
Yeah.
I recommend working in the term recording studio into your H1.
So it'd be kind of like recording studio in Jacksonville. And then at the bottom could be podcasting video course, like what people usually recording here, or in the same H1 tag.
So there's different ways to structure this because some people don't like having to work in their main category into the H1. It doesn't always fit the branding.
Yeah.
So what we will do is we'll actually kind of we'll work with the design aspect of it, meaning that you can actually make your subtitle the H1. And the big header at the top, the H2.
Makes sense.
So from a visual standpoint, you can't tell.
Exactly. But you're telling Google on the back end.
Crawls it. It makes sense.
Exactly.
So cool.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because Google doesn't crawl like the design and how it looks. It pretty much is just like a different, just like a Word document, I'm guessing, that kind of like what they see H1 and they go through that.
Right. Their crawlers they're just scanning the code for the structure.
Got it.
And then they do pay attention to user experience as well. So they're looking at how quickly does the website load. And that's another reason why I don't always recommend these drag and drop builders too.
They're very heavy.
They are heavy and you have very little control over how fast it loads.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Well, thank you so much for that.
Absolutely.
Fonzie likes to put people on the spot. You're awesome. And I'm sure like that example is going to help a ton of people to at least open their eyes to like, okay, what are some things that we can do? Or even to reach out, please click the link below.
Yeah.
Now to start wrapping this up, I'm very curious on like the future of SEO, right? Because like it's often something that's like super important as we've learned today, but also flies a lot of under the radar. And we had an incredible guest, Jason Bernard, right? And he's like at the forefront of like online Google, like he's up in England and he's been doing this for the last like 30 years. And he was talking to us about the shift that SEO is living today with like AI or automatic transcriptions on like YouTube transcriptions or all this stuff on how people can find your content. It's more like now these platforms are learning, how we talk and like they collect all this information on the back end. For example, if we put a YouTube video of this podcast, right, YouTube is automatically transcribing all of it. Now, when people search for things, they're going to be able to search by what we say instead of like what we put on whatever description or like this like things on the back end of the site, for example. And I'm very curious, like what's your point of view on like what's like where is SEO going with, all this almost like this like whole picture of like merged things of content, and every time it's more and more and more and more. Like what's your point of view on there, and what are you guys doing?
Well, from a consumer perspective, people are very, very slow to adopt new technology. Mm-hmm. So we are in the space every day, and you spoke about shiny object syndrome before, and we're always trying out new things and testing out the AI. But from a consumer perspective, people are very slow to adopt new technology. From a search engine perspective, they also still have no idea how to utilize AI technology. I mean, Google is they've been playing around with different ways to incorporate AI into the search results.
Yeah, kind of like the first thing that pops up, I notice like an AI overview type of deal.
Right. Yeah. And honestly, nobody has any idea what's next. Even Google, I don't even know if they know where they're going with it next. However, speaking to local businesses, I do not see the way in which we approach SEO changing very much, because unless they do away with Google business listings, I don't see the way in which you search for a local business changing very much. Yeah. Now, it is definitely shifting. I mean, I would say it's shifting now more than it ever has. Yeah. With SEO in particular, the way that we take advantage of it is we use those tools to our advantage and to our clients' advantage. So we use those tools to help us build out better processes. We use those tools to help us build better content, give us inspiration for better content. But from a processes perspective, outside of that, they're still very much relevant.
Yeah, that's so cool. Super random question. Do you like Lord of the Rings?
No.
Sorry. No. Okay. So here's like this is the image that came to mind. Maybe it helps illustrate, for some people. It's like yesterday I was watching like the show that's happening on Amazon, right? And like there's a scene where a bunch of dwarves are like trying to dig in the inside of the mountain to search for light, for the sun, because the mountain collapsed and they don't have sun to, grow their crops, right? Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden the king comes and he has one of those like new fancy Lord of the Rings, right? Or rings. And he comes and he starts touching the mountain, right? And then he says, dig here, right? On this one specific spot. And all these things, all the other dwarves are like, no, we've been trying all over and, we can't find the light. And then he's like, just like dig in this one. And they come in and they dig and it's about to shake the whole thing, but it opens up and then sun happens, right? Mm-hmm. And I feel like all these like crazy social strategies and, tactics and things all over the internet is a bunch of people like those dwarves trying to dig all around to find the sun. And then SEO comes and it's like, this is the thing that we need to take care of. This is the foundation, right? Boom. And then we take care of that. And then this big ray of sunshine comes through in the business and it helps gain momentum, right? And most people leave that to the very end. And as you were explaining that's like the image that came to mind, and hopefully it makes sense for people or not. You can tell me if it didn't make sense.
He's an interesting guy.
But I feel like we just get sometimes very distracted with a lot of other stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And sometimes working on that foundation, that it might just be like the right hit in the right spot, which in this case could be for local businesses, this SEO and optimizing for maybe those 2 pages, right? If somebody takes something of value today, I think that's super important. But like, let's take a look at those pages. Yeah. And that can be an increase on, from 2 calls a week to 7 calls a week. Mm-hmm. And that might mean a big shift in your business, right?
Right. I think also a big thing to keep in mind is the intent behind the individual calling too. So with paid advertising and then even with social media advertising, they're just scrolling and your ad pops up. Yeah. Google, they were actively searching for you and actively searching for your services.
The intent, exactly.
So those calls are much higher quality than social media advertising.
So cool. Man, I've been mind blown today.
I know.
So good.
I'm grateful you debunked some myth for us. I will say, selfishly, I have one more question. I have 2 more questions. I know we say
we need to control Fonzie.
You can answer this one in a nutshell because I don't think I can wait till next time.
Ask the 2 questions and Corinne, you pick, and then we're like, No,
you can pick both if you want. Just so you know.
I don't mind.
Well, the first one is, we obviously talked a lot about local businesses, local SEO, which is your expertise. Most people you help. And then, white labeling as well. You help with that. What about in a nutshell, what is the difference between, the local business SEO and an online business, right? SEO that maybe they don't, you search them and they're not going to pop up in a map in Google, right? But they're trying to sell their products and their services as well. Like in a nutshell, you don't have to extend too much. We can cover that another day. But what would be the difference in there? Is it they do have to have more content, more blogs, etc.? Anything else?
I would say yes. So we were talking about, do you have to put out a ton of content? For an online business, yes. The content, that is one of the biggest differences is you do need more content, but relevant content, quality content, to the audience. Yeah, that would be pretty much the biggest, and quality backlinks too.
Quality backlinks.
So examples of backlinks would be press release, guest post, depending on the niche that you're in. There's different forums that you can write articles on and backlink it to your website. But again, it needs to be relevant to the industry, and the content needs to be quality.
Yeah. So guesting on somebody's podcast and then they put in your link in there. We're going to put all your links in there. So would that help you?
So I am doing SEO right now.
Yes.
Got it. Perfect.
Absolutely.
Perfect. That's so good. Right. So that is the perfect segue for the next question, which was, you're building now a course, right? You want to...
I have one. It's already built. Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been out for several years. I actually just redid everything because we updated several of our processes. But it's called Maps Madness. And I teach anyone and everyone that wants to learn local SEO how to do it from the ground up. One of the biggest differences, I think, between my course and potential others is how easy it is to follow. One thing that I don't like about a lot of other courses out there is they're very jumbled up. It's not clear, what direction do I go? I'm very type A person. So I said, I'm going to make this very easy to follow, very step by step. It's just look over my shoulder as I implement all of these steps.
Yeah, I love it. And I think people should go on and reach out about this because
go buy it right now.
It can be very intimidating, right? At the end of the day. And I think for a local business owner that has a lot of things in their plate, this is something that it can help move the needle forward very quickly, like we saw. So
how do you market the Maps Madness? Is it through some SEO too, or is more like when you're having conversations and somebody might not be at the service level, you're like, hey, maybe this is a good resource for you to start with?
I found that the best student for Maps Madness is an agency owner or a freelancer, not necessarily a local business owner. The reason is because they don't have the capacity to sit there and the bandwidth to learn how to do it themselves. So just hire me.
Absolutely.
And we'll do it for you. But as far as how I marketed it, primarily paid advertising and relationship building, meeting other agency owners, freelancers that want to learn how to do it.
Yeah.
So cool.
Awesome. So cool.
Awesome.
I'm going to stop because if not, I'm just going to keep going.
Yeah. Stop. Is there anything else that you want to share with the people? Maybe, an action point I can do today. Obviously we share so much, but is there anything that you want to share before we head out?
Just get started.
Just
get started. Don't get bogged down in the details. Take the steps that I've outlined today. Just do a few things and get started.
If you don't know how people search for you, maybe you give a call to all your clients and be like, hey, how are you putting on Google to search for me? And then make a list. And then there we go. That could be simple. Because sometimes I'm like, I don't know how people are searching for me. It's like almost like, Fonzie, what do you like about me?
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I ask myself that question.
Just ask them. Ask them.
Yeah, absolutely. Fonzie, anything else that you want to say before we head out?
No, just thank you. It was absolutely amazing. Actually, just remember that I actually have a Keywords Everywhere account, but I have 0 credits left. I think I left it on one time when I was just searching a whole bunch of stuff and I was like, oh no. But I'll probably get back into it, play with it. And,
I'm the guy once a month reaching out to Fonzie, be like, how many of these things that are recurring payments you still use?
Right.
Yeah, probably.
Anyways.
Guilty.
Yes. With that said, thank you so much for tuning to the Contents Profit Podcast. Go ahead and follow the show in your favorite podcasting platform and on social media at BizBrosCo.
That is right. If Corinne here help you rank higher in Google and in your local maps, please don't forget to share this episode and don't forget to leave a 5-star review. See you. Whoa.
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 Bye, guys.